Listen, I don't want anybody to categorize this as a rant or anything to be negative towards the individuals of Charlamagne and Stephen A. This is my opinion from watching both of these guys sit here and debate about Colin Kaepernick. That's why Stephen A. really wanted to get him on the show, because they gave him Donkey of the Day for saying that, and he wanted to stick up for Colin Kaepernick and his movement and this. And I don't understand why they call it a Colin Kaepernick movement and he stood up for blacks, when Colin Kaepernick, what is he doing now? He's done everything we told you he was going to do, retracted, because he was looking out for Colin Kaepernick when he did that. He was doing it to shame the 49ers organization because he wanted them to force some sort of a trade to get rid of him, when they tried to get rid of him because they didn't want him. His attitude, his agent, everybody tried to get him out of there. Now, all of this thing with Stephen A. comes about the right to vote. You know, everybody remember the first vote. A.R. Ward, the first vote, 1867. The first black vote. And Stephen A.'s position is that Colin Kaepernick should have not publicly went forward as to say it's all right not to vote when other people have died for the right for us to vote. Me and my mother had this discussion because she thinks the same way as Stephen A.Smith. You know, they're from those days where we couldn't and didn't have the right to vote, and election is the key to everything, and we got to get the rights to vote. And saying people died for our rights to vote, that's not true. They died for us to have rights. Period. We just want the same rights every other human being has, no more, no less. The 15th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution granted African American men the right to vote by declaring that the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied by the United States or any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. And it was ratified on February the 30th in 1870. That the 15th Amendment would not be fully realized for almost a century later. Though the use of poll taxes and literacy tests and all this other stuff, southern states were able to immediately disenfranchise the African Americans. It would take the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 before a majority of African Americans in the South were registered to vote. You see, they fought for the rights that was already in the amendments. They were fighting for those rights. It's like if you go to a restaurant and then you don't like the restaurant and decide not to go, you have the choice to go or not go. But if that restaurant say you can't come here no more, you're going to be pretty ticked off because they denied you your right. So having your rights denied is a different feeling than having the choice. And that's what they died for us to have the choice. They didn't say we're dying so that you can vote. We have the right. If we want to vote, we can. If we don't want to vote, we don't have to. That's a choice that every other citizen of this United States has. A choice. We didn't have the choice. It was being dictated to us what we could and could not do. And that was unfair. As U.S. citizens, as we help work and build this nation and reap none of the benefits. Stephen A. Smith, I say this to you. What election in the past 25 years has had such a dramatic impact in the urban communities? I'm putting that out there, and hopefully somebody could tell me. Because I'll tell you, in the past 25 years, there have not been an election that has done any good for the urban communities. And if you're going to say to Barack Obama, it gave people hope. If you want to use hope, okay. But hope is not as good as soap. Hope helps in certain cases, but you can have blind hope. You can have false hope. I rather rely on something more than hope. I want to hope. I want to harp on situations that goes deeper than hope. I want something tangible. I want something that's real. That's how you make change. We still got go to every urban community there is. Blacks have gotten out and vote. In Chicago and all around the world, blacks start coming out to vote. You start seeing a rise in African American voting. What did it do? Blacks did their job for this election. You got them all together to come out and vote for Hillary Clinton. They came out in droves. What happened? Was Hillary Clinton going to be the right thing for them? No. But they still went out and voted. They participated. You saw the numbers very high with John Kerry, the Rock the Vote movement. All these entertainers getting people to come out to vote. They did. They came out and they voted. What change happened? They elected guys and people in position to do things for the city, and nothing happened. Every urban community, you see, they can't even get their streets paved. There's cracks in the sidewalks, and they're not being fixed. They can't get their alleyways cleaned. It's graffiti all over the place. Writings on the wall, buildings dirty, breaking down. Where are the aldermen? Where are the state elected officials in the areas where the urban community are voting? So it's clear that election is not protection. It never has been. The best way to get things done in your community is community. People working together in the community to get things done for themselves. Unity within our own is the only way to fix this problem. There's so many people who have block clubs, and their block was always the best. Their grass was always cut. The houses was clean. There was no crime on the block because they all cared about that block. Why can't that block expand to the other blocks where everybody work in unison and take pride in their own community? See, when it's not promoted or it's not preached, it's not championed, we're championing ideals of we gotta vote because Dr. King and them, they died for us to vote. When that was not true, they died for us to have rights as a human being. They given their lives for that. And we honor them by doing the right things by our families and our communities. And we're not doing that. We need to start there before we start telling people, help us. We have to start doing some of the work ourselves and getting the groundwork started. Then we're in a position to say, we need this. This is what we need. This is what we need. And you guys can come in. We've done our part. We're doing the groundwork. Push these cities officials. Like, we're not going to line your pockets. if you're gonna let us ride around here and tear up the streets, and you're not gonna come over here and repave this street, and you're just gonna fill it up with cheap tar that's gonna tear apart in a day or two. We're not gonna start feeding you our dollars. Action has to be taken properly to make sure community is done. So all of this champion Colin Kaepernick from Charlamagne, you don't even know what you're championing. You're championing a guy who was trying to shame his football organization. Once he took a seat and didn't stand for the flag and said, oh, well, I'm doing it for the oppressed people, everyone around the news and literal media, the liberals, all got involved, and he became a political figure that he didn't want to become. Why do you think he's backtracking now? So this is what I mean by us not really seeing the things that what it's for. We're seeing what we want it to be. And that's how people get lost in the shuffle, and you got news that come on and people don't read or follow anything. And a lot of people didn't even know who Colin Kaepernick was, besides, as far as his political views, how he felt about things, until this happened. They didn't follow the actions prior to him wanting to be traded and all these other things. And the point of the fact matter is he's an average quarterback because of his athletic ability. He has a strong arm and he's fast, but he can't throw with accuracy. And when you can't do that, it's very limited things that you can do on the field as far as beating some of the teams that's going to take that run away from you and make you throw the football. That's why they kept losing. They couldn't win the Super Bowl when they were close because he couldn't make an accurate throw. So I don't want to make this really all about him. I just really wanted to educate the public that probably watched that, and because I know I got sent the clip, and when I had to watch Charlamagne and Stephen A.Smith, as if they was going to engage in battle. But to tell somebody they have to vote or that people died so get out there and vote is wrong. I mean, me and my mom had this same discussion, and she understood my point. But she just grew up in a time where she's seen all this stuff. So for her, voting was the way out. Obama didn't save anybody. He wasn't. I'm not saying he was a bad president at all, because I think he did good under the circumstances. No president has taken over office with more on their plate coming in than Barack Obama had to. That was the worst time to come in as president. And he came in, and I think he did a great job as president of the United States of America. But for the urban community, we stayed the same. We stayed in the same predicament as we've always been. And that's just the truth. It's your boy Karceno. I'm out.